Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If it is your first time here, welcome. My name is Torri Webster. I am a content creator, lifestyle beauty content creator, but also an actor, and this is going to be the introduction to my new acting series. Welcome to Acting 101, or otherwise known as Introduction to Acting, Acting Basics, the beginnings of your acting career, the things you need to know, the things you need to do. First, let me introduce why I've began this little series. The first reason is because I have had a little bit of success now over on the TikTok platform. I will link my profile here. You can check out kind of like my short form tips and tricks when it's all about getting into the acting industry. And I've realized that things that have come to me over the years and lessons I've learned, I never realized how much value they actually hold. And I realized, why not share my knowledge with all of you and kind of give you a one-stop shop where you can kind of dive in and learn about the introductions into the industry. So here we are now on the YouTube platform, making it a little bit longer form and kind of introducing you to the world of acting. Like I mentioned, this episode is going to be Introduction to Acting 101. So kind of the 4 things that I think you need to keep in mind if you want to dive into the acting industry. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so the first thing that I think you need to tackle if you want to become an actor is shooting amazing headshots. Now, I can give you some examples of my headshots above my head here. And the whole point of a headshot is to kind of use it as a sales and marketing tool to get yourself in front of the casting director. Casting directors will browse and they will look for different actors when they're looking to book roles, and they'll look at your headshot and think, okay, yeah, we'd love to call her in. She's got an interesting look, a unique look, a cool look. She fits the criteria of kind of what we're looking for. So it really is like, the first introduction casting will get to you. So with that in mind, you want to make sure you're shooting a variety of different headshots if you are going to be, jumping into this industry. I recommend doing one a little bit more serious like this. Or you can do one that's a little more fun and flirty and young like this one. But there's so many things that you should keep in mind when you are shooting your headshots. So the first thing, of course, variety. Make sure you're shooting a ton of different looks. That's different wardrobe, different hair, different styles of makeup, because you really want to be able to show that you can lean in and play different roles. I could play a young teenager that's still in high school, but I also want to be able to play, a young lawyer that is working on Bay Street, that type of thing. So you want to show variety in your headshots to make sure that casting can kind of see you in those different lights. Now, a little hot tip, I do think that headshots are overpriced. When I think back to when I've gotten my headshots taken, I want to say I spent between $400 to $500. Yes, that really is the price of shooting headshots. Now, I will say, I think that is bing, 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 like really, really expensive for headshots, especially considering, we all have so much access to beautiful cell phones now and iPhones that have so much power. I'm not saying, oh, shoot your headshots on your iPhone, but I do think when you're first getting started, $500 is a huge expense for a headshot. So if you are just jumping into this world, I would really recommend leaning on a friend. If your friend has a camera, if you know how to work your iPhone really well on a tripod, there's so many ways you can go about it, and everything is digital now. So, I feel like the fear of having a really high quality print is no longer the norm in the industry. Back when I got started, I'd have like a physical printout of my resume and my picture every single time I went to an audition. And that's not the case anymore at all. Everything is digital. You don't have to bring anything hardcore into an audition. That's not the word, not hardcore. You don't have to bring a physical copy. That's what I'm trying to say. You no longer have to bring physical copies into auditions. So because we can get around that, I do think that you can get away with maybe a little bit of a lower quality headshot because you don't actually have to print it. So just something to keep in mind. I would never want to like push a young person to be like, you need to pay $500 for a really professional headshot. I do think you can get around that. Lean on your friends, lean on your iPhone, shoot away, babies. All right, so that's a little bit about headshots. That should be step number 1 because a headshot is really gonna be the thing that gets you in the door. And along with that, tip number 2 and step number 2 is to draw up a resume. Now, I always get questions on my TikTok, but what if you have nothing on your resume? Trust me, we've all been there. We've all started out with an empty resume, a clean slate, if you will. So don't worry, sometimes resumes are not always about showing what you've done, but instead you can show kind of what you're doing to become a successful actor. So to be clear, what that means to me and what my resume looked like at the very beginning was very much just like training. Like it just showed the training and the classes that I had been taking, and that was it, because of course I had no experience as an actor yet. So I included, my height, my name, my hair color, my agent, obviously, and if you don't have an agent, that's okay, just your contact information, and then just training and skills. Like I explained, that I had danced for 10 years, that I had like a ton of competitive dance experience, that I had a ton of vocal lesson experience, that I had taken summer camps where I was performing on stage. Like it really can be as simple as that. It's just outlining your experience. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like, I was the lead of a TV show. I mean, of course, as you get experience, you add those things to your resume. But when I was starting out, it was absolutely just my skills and my training. So that's step number 2. So once you have a headshot and a working resume, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything extensive, but just something that introduces yourself and explains your experiences, then you can jump in to step number 3. And step number 3 to me should be classes. Now I know that this is complicated in COVID because we cannot leave the house. However, that being said, there are a ton of programs right now and people are doing virtual classes. You can do Zoom acting classes. There's so many ways around it. So if you really are serious about this, classes is the best place to start. I learned so much, not only in theater classes, but also film and TV classes. Now, for my Toronto people, I will give you the behind the scenes kind of tips. My favorite acting classes here in Toronto are at Armstrong Acting Studios. I highly recommend them. I've been going there since I literally started in the industry. I was about 10 or 11 or 12 when I started taking classes there. And it really just is a one-stop shop for kind of getting introduced into the industry. But not only that, you end up creating relationships with the teachers, and then those teachers end up becoming your coaches later in life. So I still go see my coach there. If I have like, a really tough audition, or if I have a self-tape, those are still the resources I lean on to this day. So highly recommend checking out Armstrong if you're on the East End. And then if you're on the West End, I really love Louis Beaumander. Now he has a ton of coaches that work under him, and I also love his studio, and I've gone there many years. So these are kind of 2 different resources that you can look into. Wonderful studios, wonderful coaches, and still locations I go to this day for my self-tapes and for help with auditions. Okay, and then finally for the introduction to acting, step number 4, and this is like the big one because everyone thinks I need an agent, but step number 4, landing an agent. Here's the thing about agents. Yes, you, for the most part, need an agent to be able to get into auditions because they are ultimately the people pitching you behind the scenes to casting to get you into auditions. That being said, it can be tough to land an agent at the very beginning when you don't have experience, and the kind of trick is that you actually have to audition for your agent. So I feel like that's a step that a lot of people don't quite understand. It basically means that you can introduce yourself to an agency and say, hey, I really want to be a film and TV actor, my name's Torri, here's my classes I've taken, here's my headshot, here's my resume, I'm really keen on entering the industry, can I read, some sides for you or monologue for you to audition? And, we've all been there, I had to audition for my agent, and you basically go in, it is a little petrifying, but you go in and you have a meeting with the agent, and you either show them your demo reel, but if you don't have any experience, then that doesn't exist. So for my, in my experience, I had to actually go in, read like 2 monologues, I think, that I had prepared. And then from there, they will tell you, great, we think you're talented, we want to represent you. Or they'll say, sorry, we don't have a great fit on our roster at this time, but we'll keep in touch with you and we'll let you know. So those are kind of like the 2 ways that it can go. I got signed with my agent after my audition. So then from there, they were able to, put me out for auditions, and I continued to work in the industry. That being said, it doesn't always happen that seamlessly. For sure, you might have to audition for a few different agencies just to get your foot in the door. Don't be afraid to cold call or email agents. They're always looking for fresh talent, fresh faces. You know, that's their job. They're trying to literally scout out the next big person. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Send in, you know, a self-tape audition. Obviously in COVID, they can't be having people come audition in person, but you know, you can be sending in videotapes of monologues, or, you know, having a Zoom audition, things like that. So don't be afraid to get yourself out there and, you know, reach out to some agents, but do your research. That's the biggest thing I can say. Make sure that the agent you're signing with is reputable in the industry. You want to make sure that their name appears on Google, that, you know, they're respected by casting directors, things like that. But you know, Google is your best friend. So just do your research based on your location, find an agent that's reputable, and then send them a little email and say, hi, I want you to represent me. And then get ready to start going for auditions. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. This really was just like the fundamentals, the true basics in my head, the 4 first steps that you should take if you want to get into the acting industry. So to repeat, we said headshots, then we said resumes, then we said take classes, and then we said audition for an agent. Those are my 4 big takeaways for this introduction into the acting world. But of course, I am going to be turning this into a series, and I hope to come at you with a few videos a week talking about, you know, my best tips, my best practices when it comes to the acting industry. It really can be super strange and weird to navigate. It's a unique industry. It's a competitive industry. It is a tough, sometimes heartbreaking industry, but it is also a beautiful and fun and creative and collaborative and fantastic industry to be a part of. And because I have been doing this since I was literally 12 years old, and I'm, you know, 24 now. It's been over a decade. I really have learned a lot, and I can't wait to share all my best tips and tricks with you. So thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Please subscribe, like this video, show me that I should be doing more of these, because if not, I'm gonna get lazy and I'll stop filming. So comment below, tell me more. And then hopefully I will be here very soon with the next episode of Acting 101 with Torri Webster. I don't know if that's what I'm gonna call it, but hey, maybe I'll consult with my editor and intern and we'll come up with a very creative name for this series. Okay, thanks so much guys. See you in my next video.